On the 27th of August 2015, SPI was invited to give a guest lecture at the National University of Singapore at the Southeast Asian Studies program. The topic of the lecture was funerals and burial ceremonies from the paranormal scientific perspective. Here we have a reproduction of that very lecture.
Good afternoon, Dr. Effendi and students of the Southeast Asian Studies program. We are the Singapore Paranormal Investigators. Thank you so much for inviting us here today to give you a guest lecture. Today, we will be talking to you about Southeast Asian funerals, burial ceremonies, and rituals from the SPI perspective. Let me begin today's lecture by giving you a quote from John Green. Funerals are for the living. What does this mean? This means that funerals have 5 main objectives or functions. Number 1, funerals ensure that the living have closure. They can be rest assured that the deceased is now dead and gone. Number 2, funerals also assure the living that the deceased are safe, that the deceased have gone on to another realm, that the deceased have gone on to a better place. Funerals also remember the deeds of the deceased, and that is why we have epitaphs. That is why we say some good words during the funeral of the deceased. Funerals also request the deceased to protect the living. In many cultures, especially Southeast Asian cultures, the deceased are seen to have powers beyond that of mortal men, and with these powers, they are able to protect their survivors. However, if the deceased died in a horrible way, or if the deceased have unfinished business, then they might have negative energies that might negatively affect the living. And as such, funerals also play the role of protecting the living from the deceased. Here are some examples of funerals and burial ceremonies all over the world. This is sati, practiced in India. Now, what this does is that it is a form of wifely devotion when a wife throws herself on the funeral pyre upon her husband's passing. India is not the only culture that practices sati. Many other cultures around the world, such as some cultures in Indonesia as well, practice burying the wife together with the corpse of the husband. Essentially, this shows wifely devotion, and it allows the society to be rest assured that the deceased have gone on and has company in the afterlife. We go now to a popular burial ceremony, or rather a remembrance ceremony for the dead, known as Qingming, and it is celebrated in Indonesia, in Malaysia, and in Singapore. This is when Taoist families go to clean the graves of their dearly departed, and they also burn some offerings and make some food offerings to their dearly departed. And what do? When they practice Qingming, when they go to the graveyards to practice Qingming, they venerate their dearly departed. They recount the good deeds of their dearly departed, and they also ask for favors, for protection, for wealth, for children to do well in studies, and stuff like that. In the 7th month, the Hungry Ghost month, it is also quite popular for Chinese Singaporeans and Chinese Malaysians to offer food and burnings to what they call as the good brothers and the good sisters. Now, these are not their ancestors. These are wandering ghosts, also known as hungry ghosts. How is it different? You see, hungry ghosts are created from two sources. Number one, from people who have died but are not remembered by their family members. Number two, hungry ghosts are also created by people who had done bad deeds in their previous life, and therefore the circle of samsara brought them back, reincarnated them into a ghost. Okay, so now these hungry ghosts have no one to care for them, right? And so they wander the streets and they do mischievous things. Like when you're swimming, they will pull your leg down, they will blind your eyes such that you get into a traffic accident, they will appear in front of you and scare you, they will switch off your electrical products. And so, if you don't want to be disturbed by them this way, what do? You give them offerings, you placate them, you make them full in their tummies, you give them hell paper money, such that they don't disturb you. During the Hungry Ghost Month, also there are these getai, these performances for the entertainment of the living as well as for the good brothers and sisters, also known as the hungry ghosts. At cemeteries, during the Hungry Ghost Month, Taoist priests known as Tanki will go and ask for lottery numbers for those who want them. Here we see the Tanki in trance and sitting on a sedan chair, asking for 4D numbers. Quite typically, the Tanki will then direct his helpers to lift up the sedan chair, which is essentially upside down, and to write numbers in the sand. And these numbers would represent numbers that one can buy from the lottery dispensers. Okay, now, why am I showing a picture of a Muay Thai fighter? He hasn't passed away. Well, look at the mongkon that he's wearing on his head. Muay Thai fighters wear mongkon on their head before the start of their fight, when they do the Wai Kru Ramwe, which is a dance to remember their parents, their teachers, and their ancestors. Now, in the mongkon, which is worn on their heads, sometimes the cloth that was used to cover the corpse of a dearly departed is woven into the mongkon. Sometimes the bones of their ancestors are woven into the mongkon. This is believed to give the fighter extra spirit and an extra edge, and perhaps even extra strength to carry on with the fight. Here we have a pregnant woman who has recently passed away. In the Malay culture, a pregnant woman who has just passed away will turn into a Pontianak, which is one of the most feared of Malay ghosts. Malays fear this ghost because this ghost flies around, has a very piercing laughter, and goes after virgin men and other pregnant women. So, if a Malay woman dies while pregnant, the Malays would bury her, but they would also place a raw egg in her armpit. This apparently prevents her from getting up. Why? Because in death, she will think of that egg as her child, as her unborn child, and not wanting to break the egg, she will not rise from the grave, and she will not turn into a Pontianak. Now, I'd like to illustrate a cultural difference here. I just spoke about the Malays. What about the Thais? Now, the Thais see an opportunity when a woman dies while pregnant. The fetus can be made into a child spirit known as kumantong. A child spirit is good to many Thais because it is very endearing. It helps with business, it helps people like you, it generally helps your well-being. So some of the lay ajan and some mopi, which is like the witch doctors or the lay monks, okay, in Thai Buddhism, will extract the fetus from a deceased pregnant woman, chant some incantations and add some sense to it, and make it into a child spirit known as a kumantong. Now, what about the woman herself who has passed away? The Thais also see this as an opportunity because they will extract oil from the chin of the corpse. This is known as Namam Prai, corpse chin oil. When they extract the oil from the chin of a corpse, what they do is that they will put a lighter on the chin of the corpse, and they will just light a flame there, and oil will flow down into a small vial. They will collect it, again they will say some incantations, they will add some scents to it, and it would become a love potion. Okay, apparently it is the most potent of all love potions in Thailand. Proposition 1. For funerals and burial rites, the dead may leave behind residual energy. Proposition 2. Bad deeds while living or unfinished business may cause the dead's energies to remain among the living. Proposition 3. Energies left behind by the dead manifest themselves in several forms, including visual, sonic, and kinesthetic. Proposition 4. Negative residual energies of the dead can be felt most strongly by the living who have negative living energies.
Hi, it was a pretty good lecture. Students learned a lot, and we saw things about death and dying in Southeast Asia from very different perspectives. So the value is, well, of course, creation of more curiosity about thinking about unique research topics. Thank you, Yase, for coming.
Oh, hi. I thought it was a great lecture. Like, it's really interesting to see like different viewpoints, and like especially like I really liked seeing like that you like kind of like take a more like scientific approach to it instead of like more like just going for like a non-scientific approach, I guess. It was really interesting to see like how you actually measure like the presence of like beings or like ghosts, and like it was like, yeah, it was really interesting for sure.
Hi, I felt that the lecture was very insightful in terms of the experiences that you shared, and also at the same time it gives us a further insight as to the scientific theory or the scientific explanations as to the so-called spiritual world that we seem to believe in.
Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to deliver a guest lecture. We look forward to seeing you again. Goodbye.